Good evening, councillors. My name is Laura Stewart. I am here because I am against the proposed changes. My perspective as a community nurse will highlight how this council is failing to care for their constituents by adopting changes like those described under item 10.1. Between the actions of this council in the past and the proposed changes being discussed this evening, I have become convinced the majority of this council lacks the ability to care for this community. To give you context on my perspective, I have worked in the Hamilton and Niagara communities for nearly 15 years as a registered nurse. I always use something called active listening when engaging with a patient. This is a particular skill that can be learned by those involved in the well-being of others. Engaging in active listening can lead to solutions that work. If adopted, the changes under item 10.1 are a clear indication the majority of this council lack awareness and are completely out of touch with the Niagara region constituents. Being out of touch with your constituents shows me this council overall is not reliable and not to be trusted. In my experience, when one feels heard and validated, they are more likely to seek support, to be compliant in their treatment plan, and more likely to make competent decisions leading to better health outcomes. This can be and should be applied to your practice as council members. How are you meant to care for this community when your actions continuously silence an entire population under your care? Past events, along with the likely adoption of these changes, clearly highlights the active listening skills this council lacks. The council's complete disregard for the well-being of this community, and the council's complete disregard for the well-being of this community. Palestinians in the Niagara region came to speak to this council to, at the bare minimum, feel heard with the hope to gain your support in the horrific issues they are facing. You cannot prioritize the well-being of the community without actively listening to your constituents. To be clear, you don't have to agree with your constituents, but no communication process is complete without truly listening. From silencing them in the past to doubling down on discrimination with these proposed changes, you are actively not listening, leading the Niagara region into communication breakdown and losing the confidence of your constituents in your ability to represent all of us. I am against the proposed changes because I have been listening to the Palestinians in my community.
Again, we do not want to get into the international affairs.
I'm talking about the Palestinians in the Niagara region who live here.
I know you are, but you're straying into exactly what council did not want to get into, and that is these international conflicts going on.
Understood.
But the other, the general statements you made are quite all right.
Okay. Many delegates this evening made it very clear the proposed changes are hypocritical and expose double standards. Have you been listening? Had the majority of this council been practicing active listening skills in the past, we would not be here today discussing these outrageous proposed changes. When their agenda item was removed in the past, the reaction of the delegates was completely valid. The proposed changes expose the council's inability to continue being caretakers of this region. Your lack in these basic skills of professional communication explains how out of touch you are. Adopting these proposed changes will show us so clearly how firm you are grasping onto discrimination for your own comfort. Learning and listening to people outside our bubble can be uncomfortable, but it's absolutely necessary, especially as a nurse, especially as a council member. Adopting the changes under item 10.1 will be another missed opportunity to show this community you care for its well-being. The Niagara Region Council will go down in history as being complicit in the harm of those in the Niagara region and complicit in neglecting to care for its constituents. As a nurse, I cannot just sit idly by while the majority of this council risks the well-being of my community. Your attempts to silence us will only make us louder. We will build a supportive, healthy community with or without you. Thank you.
Thank you for your delegation.